Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 107 of How I Built It. Today, my guest is Anton Kraly of Dropship Lifestyle. I'm really excited to talk to Anton today because way back in episode 101, Chris Lema talked about how an important thing to think about in 2019 is going to be dropshipping, and in my opinion, there's nobody to talk to better than Anton Kraly. He gives us lots of good advice on exactly what dropshipping is, and if you want to get into dropshipping, how to do that. In other words, how to build a dropship business. So if this is something you're interested especially in, then this is a great episode. Otherwise, it's just, there's a lot of food for thought in this episode. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this interview with Anton. Of course, first, I need to bring you a word from our sponsors. This season is brought to you by Plesk. Do you spend too much time doing server admin work and not enough time building websites? Plesk helps you manage servers, websites, and customers in one dashboard, helping you do those tasks up to 10 times faster than manually coding everything. As someone who just spent a bunch of time finding the right tools and automations to save myself time, I can tell you that Plesk is invaluable. And you can try Plesk for free today at plesk.com/build. That's plesk.com/build. This episode is brought to you by MailPoet. If you build WordPress websites, you probably recommend a newsletter solution to your customers. Why not offer them a solution that is built right into the WordPress admin? The MailPoet plugin offers just that. On top of that, they have a new newsletter designer that's easier to use than MailChimp's, and it takes only a few minutes to configure. Your customers will love it. MailPoet offers a free sending plan to ensure top-notch deliverability. And if your customers run into issues, the MailPoet support team offers free email and chat support. Classy. Save yourself time and make your customers happy. Try the new MailPoet today. You can download the plugin over at the WordPress plugin repository, wordpress.org/plugins/MailPoet. Again, that's wordpress.org/plugins/MailPoet. Anton Kraly of dropshiplifestyle.com. How are you today?
Doing well. How are you?
I am doing great. Thanks for joining me today. It is a little warmer for the fall here in the northeast of the United States, but that's okay. I'm cool with it. I want to thank you for joining me today. I'm very excited to kind of talk about dropshipping and this general topic. So why don't we start off with who you are and what you do?
Sure, yeah. So my name is Anton Kraly. I'm actually, I see you have a New York Yankees shirt on there. I'm from New York, grew up there, went to school up in Albany, kind of started business there when I was like 21, right out of school, selling cookies. That was my first business. Yeah, I bought a delivery route for a bakery in Brooklyn, did that for a few weeks, thought, don't want to do this, learned about e-commerce in early 2007. And from then on there, I've been building stores on different platforms, getting better. Hopefully, that's always the goal with Google Ads, and growing, over the past 10 or 11 years or so.
That's fantastic. Yeah. So did you go to SUNY Albany up there?
I did, yep.
Nice. Very nice. That's awesome. Yeah. As we record this, it is the beginning of the baseball postseason. So hopefully by the time this comes out, I'll have a nice little pre-show intro talking about how the Yankees won the World Series. Yeah. But we'll see. That's really cool. So why don't we talk a little bit about that? How did you get into kind of selling cookies for your first business? Was it like, were you really into cookies, or did you just see that as like a good market to get into?
So one of my friends' dads, I realized they had like a nice house, and like it seemed like they were doing well. And then it was funny because every time we would go to his house, they lived on like a dead end street, and there were like 5 or 6 massive trucks out there. And I asked him like, "What is this?" And he said, "Oh, like my dad owns a delivery route business for it was actually for a bread company. So like sliced bread. And they had the rights basically to pick it up from wherever it's made and then sell it to the grocery stores all around Nassau County on Long Island, where I'm from. So that was just like one thing that popped into my head, and I wasn't like, oh, I need to be in this business. But when I got out of school and I knew I wanted to get into business, I was looking for opportunities that didn't cost, $1 million because I was a kid. So I saw online there were different businesses for sale. One of them caught my eye because it was a delivery route business for that bakery in Brooklyn, and it was about 25 grand. So like that was an opportunity I can get into. I saw someone, and my friend's dad that had bought something that was small, built it to something big, and I thought, okay, this is like an opportunity to, not do it the rest of my life at all, but to build this up, maybe double the size, flip it, then get into the next business.
Wow, that's fantastic. So basically in college, right, you were like ready to make a $25,000 investment, which is,
yeah.
I mean, like as somebody, I mean, we're both around the same age. Yep. I basically worked online my entire life. And so the startup costs for that are dramatically lower, virtually zero.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's tainted me a little bit, right? To wanting to make the initial investment, right? You got to spend money to make money is the old adage. So
yep.
That's really cool that you were willing, I mean, at that point to
yep.
be willing to make that investment.
I didn't know anything else. Like, so back then when I bought that business, I did not know that I could build a website myself. I didn't know there were tools out there. In fact, like one of the things I was thinking of doing back then, again, this is 2006. I was like, oh, I see an opportunity to have like a for sale by owner, home website. So like have like Nassau County, Suffolk County, all of Long Island. And I was like, oh, I want to have that website built. And then, I'll find the people to list their homes. And I went online, looked for, I think, Long Island web developers or something. Mm-hmm. And I was going to their offices and having meetings, getting quoted, 100K, 200K. And I thought like, that's any online business. Like that's what you would need to spend to build it. So I had no idea that you can start something for like, $50. That it wasn't even an option to me. Yeah.
Motto on 100K.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I know a lot of the web developers listening to this probably just like cringed or are like, I could charge that much.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So I just want to touch on two things, being a New Yorker myself. You're from Nassau County. Does that make you a Mets fan? I don't want to belabor the point.
Unfortunately, yes. Yeah. It makes me not like baseball. Yeah. Yes.
I understand. Though David Wright's send-off was a very nice one. So
so long. Yeah.
And a bakery in Brooklyn. I mean, if for those of you outside of New York or maybe New York City, Brooklyn bakeries are just like the best bakeries. They make. I'm starting to sound a little bit like our president here, but there's no better bakeries in the world, in my opinion. So
yeah,
that's really cool. So and then so from there, I just want to make sure that we have a good timeline for kind of talking about drop shipping. You started to do more research on e-commerce stuff. So what was the leap you made from having this delivery business to getting into e-commerce?
Yeah, sure. So I had the delivery business, and basically a book, The 4-Hour Workweek, that book came out, in 2007, read it. And then there was like a chapter in it about building a Yahoo store on that platform. It said it was like $29 for a month to get started. And then there was a chapter on Google AdWords. So my thought process was like, well, what products do I have access to? And it was cookies. And I built a website called NewYorkCookieShop.com, listed all those cookies, and then set up Google AdWords, figured it out pretty simply, just targeting people outside of New York, saying like that searched for like cookies or anything, saying, oh, do you miss New York bakeries? Order something like authentic cookies shipped to your home in whatever 3 days, something like that. And that was like a weekend experiment. And within a week or so, that was making more money than that business that I spent $25K for. So I was like, okay, e-commerce, that's what I'm doing. And I just, since then, then I started to get into more and more expensive products and whatnot, because I realized I didn't want to sell like $20 items, but that was the start.
Wow, that's incredible. So, essentially, you took a weekend. I will say I rag on the 4-Hour Workweek a lot, but there is a lot of good stuff in that book. I read it probably around the same time. And so you set up a website in a weekend. You did Google AdWords, which is probably a show that we could have a topic we could have a whole show on. And it started making a ton of money. So, And then you said you started to get into more expensive products.
Yes.
So I imagine that this is kind of the part where we start to talk about drop shipping, right? Because first of all, just like shipping cookies, you probably need to think of a couple of things to make sure they're fresh when
Yep.
they're delivered and stuff like that. So maybe we can get into the research at this point. What kind of research did you do getting into shipping these various types of products?
Right. So the transition there was, okay, again, same thought process. If I'm selling $20 items, why can't I sell $1,000 items? So back then, it's not the same now, so I don't recommend anybody do this, but my research process was go on eBay, literally go through all of the categories, search for products with the filters that were above $500, then sort by completed listings. Then I was looking literally in all the categories for completed listings that sold at buy it now prices over $500 that looked to be consistent. So lots of green, And when I saw that, I was like, okay, people are buying these things. So once I, figured that out, I picked kind of like a subset of products I wanted to start with. Still didn't know what drop shipping was. So went on Google, figured everything comes from China, found Alibaba. And back then I actually was importing. So, just we don't have to talk about it. For like 3 years, though, I was importing products from China, bringing in containers to a fulfillment center in Long Beach in California. And then I was selling them online. The fulfillment center was shipping them all over the country. And then from there, once I had all those websites up, a few years into the process, I started to get phone calls at my e-commerce businesses. And, I'll give you an example. Like one of them was selling like bed frames. So I had bed frame company call me and they were like, hey, we see you sell these products. We have our brand, whatever, bed frames, ABC, and do you want to sell our stuff? And at first I said no, because I thought they wanted me to buy them, put them in the fulfillment center, and I thought, I don't want to do that for the margins. But then they explained to me, listen, you put them on your website, we have them in our warehouses. When you get a sale, you let us know, we ship it direct to your customer. So for me, that basically meant no overhead, no extra overhead, and the ability to really increase the amount of products that I offered. So once I found out about that, I started working with as many different brands as I could that would work on that model.
Wow, that's incredible. And that's kind of like Amazon-ish, right? Like you're the conduit for people being able to buy these products without having to yourself buy these products like wholesale.
Exactly. Yep.
Wow, yep. That's fantastic. So so you mentioned that your research process of 10 or so years ago is probably not the best research process today. What would you recommend for somebody today if they want to get into selling physical products or their own products online?
Yeah. So some things that I look for, again, I want to see that somebody else, meaning like another business, is actually making money doing it. So some things that I look for are, I use Google. So I go on Google and I'll type in different kind of like industry names, right? So I don't know, whatever, modern leather Italian sofa, mahogany wood dining table, things like that. And then I'll literally pull up the first 3 pages of websites that have those products for sale. And from there, specifically what I'm looking for are websites that don't have retail locations and that don't have warehouses, because I want to find other, internet retailers. So the way that I check that, once I have a million tabs open on my computer, is I go through all those websites. I check their contact page. I check their About Us page. I see if it says, stores or store locator. And when they have that, I'm just closing those out because I'm not going to be competing with them. And what I want to end up with is, a handful of sites that sell the stuff that I want to sell that don't have that physical presence. From there, I take those domains. I usually just check on Alexa to see, how much traffic they're getting. Obviously, it's an estimate, but I'm looking for stores that are in the top 100,000 or higher in the United States. And once I have like those 2 things confirmed, I just kind of take it to the next step, which is how many different brands are these websites selling for? Like, is it a modern Italian leather sofa website that's custom making them, in their garage in New York? Or is it a company that has 30 different types you could buy? And if I could find that, like a website without the address, with that traffic, with multiple brands, then I'm like, okay, this is an opportunity. So that's like the starting point.
Gotcha. So, and that makes sense, right? You want to make sure that these are people who aren't, necessarily catering to a local crowd. They want to cater to everybody.
Yep.
And then you said that you want to make sure they don't have a warehouse either, and that's because a warehouse implies that they are stocking their own stuff, right?
Right. And when that happens, so the way that we get so just so everybody, if anyone's thinking oh, I should try drop shipping, never go online and Google drop ship suppliers or anything like that, because you're going to find these middlemen that basically will say, pay us X amount of dollars per month and you get access to 1 million products. And you're never going to make money with companies like that in the long run. So the companies that we sell for directly. So we have direct relationships with every single brand. And the way that we find our brands is by finding companies that we're going to be competing with, right? We find them from those websites. So if my research was just, anybody even that has a retail store, I'm going to try to sell the stuff that they're selling, a lot of those brands probably will say, we don't work with online retailers.
Mm-hmm.
They might just, it's kind of a waste. So yeah, we want to segment down further before we start extracting suppliers.
Gotcha. That makes a ton of sense. And so we haven't actually defined drop shipping.
Yeah.
I made the assumption that people know what it is, but maybe can you define it for us as before we move forward?
Yep. So it's a very vague term, and there's a lot of different things that would fall under drop shipping. But basically, all it means is you're selling something and you're not fulfilling the orders directly. So if you let's say at your house right now you were making wooden tables, and I put one on Craigslist. I'm in Austin, Texas now, and I put one on Craigslist and I sold it. Then I was like, hey, I got the sale. Can you ship it to my customer? And you did that. That would be drop shipped, right? So that's one way to do it. With the cookie business, I didn't even realize back then, but as that website grew, I was selling them on my website. Then I was having the bakery in Brooklyn ship them directly to my customers. So that technically was drop shipping. If you go online and Google it now, you're probably going to think it means using a website like AliExpress and selling stuff from China through Facebook ads. And technically that is drop shipping. But again, it's a very generic term. It's a method of order fulfillment.
Gotcha. Right. So as you said, if I want to get into selling, let's say Star Wars prints, right? Like Star Wars digital prints, or not digital prints, the canvas type prints, and I'm not making them and I'm not shipping them to the person. I contract with a few people, artists, sell them through my website, and then they ship them out. So another good, a real example is my website for selling t-shirts, right? That's all through printful.com. Yep. So I uploaded the artwork, somebody orders a t-shirt, Printful prints the t-shirt and then sends it. I don't touch that process at all.
Right, that's drop shipping. Yeah, we use them too. Good company.
Yeah. I'm testing out a few more different products right now. So, cool, very cool. So, and I really like the advice that you gave about never Google drop shipping suppliers. Right? I mean, much like what you said, selling from AliExpress or whatever.
Yep.
Through Facebook ads, it's a little bit disingenuous, right? Because you're kind of taking advantage of the fact that people aren't really sure what to look for.
Yeah, and then speaking on that too, so never Google dropship suppliers, and never, when you're talking to the real brands that you want to sell for, you also shouldn't use the term dropshipping. So my website is called dropshiplifestyle.com so people can find us. But when, I'm talking to suppliers, I don't call them and say hey, do you dropship? That's not, it has a negative connotation associated with it because a lot of beginners think it means something that it's not. And they think they're just going to make all this money by selling some big company stuff. And the truth is the companies that you want to sell for, they really are only going to let you sell their stuff if they trust you, if they think you're building a real business or already have a real business. So yeah, that's not a term you want to throw around besides discussions with other people that are in the business.
Gotcha. Yeah. And that makes sense, right? Because they're putting their products on the line.
Exactly.
And if you're disingenuous, to use that term I used before, then you're diminishing their brand as well.
Exactly.
That's really cool. That's almost like SEO maybe 10 years ago, right? If somebody said I'm a search engine optimization expert, you'd almost look at them kind of side-eyed, what are you trying to tell me? So,
yeah.
Cool. So to talk about dropshiplifestyle.com, I think this is probably the thing that will be the title question, right? How did you build it? Can you tell us a little bit about that website specifically?
Yeah, sure. It's a WordPress site, and it has so many, probably way too many plugins and themes. We've been through, having everything done custom. Problem with that for me is I'm not that technical. So when it came to making quick edits for changing out promotions or new content, it broke too much. So right now it's the front end of it. The main content site is running on WordPress using Thrive themes with Thrive Architect. That's our builder. I love it. It's easy enough for me, but still seems to load fast enough for Google to show. And we use that. And then for our, community. So a lot of what we do is like teaching based. So our members area is also built on WordPress. That's using a whole combination of tools, but it's using a tool called Memberium, and that does content locking. And Memberium is actually a plugin that works with Infusionsoft. So Infusionsoft is our CRM. So whether someone is just getting emails from us or whether they buy from us and then get access tags, that's all handled there. Then Infusionsoft works with Memberium to say, okay, give this person access to this thing. That's our main content for this company.
This episode is brought to you by Pantheon. Starting a new project? Looking for a better hosting platform? Pantheon is an integrated set of tools to build, launch, and run websites. Get high-performance hosting for your WordPress sites, plus a comprehensive toolkit to supercharge your team and help you launch faster. On Pantheon, you get expert support from real developers, best-in-class security, and the most innovative technology to host and manage your websites. You can sign up a new site in minutes with a free account. You only pay when it goes live. That is my second favorite feature to Pantheon, only to the easy ability to create dev, staging, and live servers and push to GitHub. It's very easy to set those things up on Pantheon. So you can head over to pantheon.io today, again, to set up a free account. Pay only when it goes live. Thanks so much to Pantheon for their support of this episode and this season of How I Built It. Dropshiplifestyle.com is an area where people can kind of come to learn about dropshipping, and then there's the community aspect. Right. Where people can talk to each other, right? So it looks like you have a couple of courses on here too. Are you using WordPress for the courses as well?
Exactly. Yep. WordPress. So they're on a subdomain. So it's courses.dropshiplifestyle, but that's on WordPress as well with it's actually, I think it's using Divi as the theme on there, but we use a plugin called Sensei, and Sensei is like a good course plugin. It's pretty basic, but more than enough. It tracks people's progress throughout, so they can click they completed a lesson. Allows us to attach different downloads to different modules like worksheets and whatnot. Really easy to embed videos. We use Vimeo Pro for all of our video hosting there. And then for our community side of it, so that's where like the content lives for, the education of it. But then we wanted to have a forum also, right? So people can interact with each other. We do have a Facebook group, but I started Dropship Lifestyle back in like 2013 when Facebook groups weren't even like a thing yet. Mm-hmm. So we needed a forum integration. And for the forum, we found the best solution to be through Envision Powerboard. So it's Envision, I think it's just envisionpowerboard.com, but we use their software to run our forum.
That's really cool. I haven't heard of Envision Powerboard. I'm definitely going to check that out. I use BBPress for my community. Mm-hmm. It integrates well with my LMS, LearnDash, but Sensei is the one that integrates with WooCommerce, right? That's like the WooCommerce LMS.
They do have a plugin, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Wow. So it sounds like you have a lot going on, but it kind of sounds like the perfect site builder map, right? If I wanted to go off and build a website that is a course and community, or an online courses and community, you've given us a good blueprint for what we should be using, which is always insanely valuable.
Especially because there's so much out there, like we've been through so many different tools, and nothing's going to be perfect. But yeah, if you do want to create something like an online course, just pick something like this. Works for us. It does work. So if you want to just use it, but don't get caught up. That'd be my advice for anybody. Don't get caught up in the, which one out of these 1,000 things should I use? Because they all basically do the same thing.
Yeah. That's really great advice. And it's something that I started a second podcast called Creator Toolkit, where I kind of go through things exactly like this. What do I need to do to set up an online course? And I talk about like the themes and different plugins that you could use and stuff like that. But you're absolutely right. The tools are one thing. The content is a whole other thing. So even if you want to use like Vimeo Pro to just make the videos and sell the videos, you can totally do that on Vimeo Pro now too. So, but this is fantastic. So I'll be sure to link all of that in the show notes. But it looks like as we kind of we're coming up on time already. I can't believe it. You have 3 different courses. So I don't want to make this sound like an advertisement, but this is, I mean, there's so much to know about drop shipping. You've given us, again, like I said, like a really good blueprint, but what's kind of the difference between these 3 courses? I'm looking at the pricing table, but if I wanted to get started with drop shipping today, which course would you recommend for me?
So either what we call our premium course, which is all our training videos. That's like every training video we have. Plus we do have an app for Shopify that's not in the Shopify App Store. It's something that it's basically on our website. It lives on our website, but we allow our students to use it. So that's included with that. And then also we have a custom, we call it the Dropship Lifestyle Shopify theme, really original name, but you get that too. Yeah. So I'd recommend either that, or for the people that want just like us to build the website for you. We don't go as far, obviously, as like getting traffic and sales and supplier approvals, because then we would just sell the website ourselves for a lot more money. But that's the top tier package where we will, we'll set up your Shopify store, we'll upload your products for you, do all your content pages, your logo. We will set up your social media pages. We actually will set up your first Google Ads on Google Shopping campaign. But yeah, that's for the people that are just like, you know what, let me just hand that off, and I'd rather just pay to outsource it. So depends how hands-on you want to be in the beginning, I would say.
Wow, that's great. And this is the reason I asked this question, right? Is because this is, for anybody who wants to sell online courses, this is a great model, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, definitely.
Yeah. You've got basic, which is just kind of like some educational information. You've got premium, which is like I mean, this is the middle tier. This is what probably
and that's like all the content. So if you just want to like learn again, like boom, like here you go, you got it. Yeah.
Right. And then there's the ultimate package, which, like you said, will do everything for you. Mm-hmm. You get to learn, but then so you understand what's happening, but the setup is being done for you. So you can understand, but you don't have to sink a bunch of hours into actually like, the nitty gritty of setting the site up and making, oh, is this right? Well, I think I understood this correctly, but I'm not sure.
Exactly.
And again, just to harken back to what we talked about earlier, this ultimate package is $4,997, 1/5 of what you paid to start your first business.
I know. Yeah. It's funny. Like, people think about it different. Like you said too, and I get it, because like even when I'm like building a new website, I'm like, oh, can I start this thing for like $200? And it's funny. Yeah, I bought the truck that I got with that delivery route was like a 1985 Dodge something piece of crap. Like then I paid to sit in traffic for 2 hours in the BQE every day. That was my investment. And like now people are like, oh, it's going to cost me, whatever, $29 a month for Shopify. That's a ripoff. Like it's powering your entire business. Like relax. Yeah.
Exactly. That's something that I try to talk about a lot on this show, because I was totally guilty of it starting out. Yeah. I'm getting better about it now. Like if I can pay like $300 for something that's going to save me even like 10 hours, that is totally worth it for me. But you're absolutely right. It's so funny. I quoted out a project for somebody. They wanted an e-commerce site that would have like 2,500 or 25,000, like some preposterous amount of products on it. But let's just, for simplicity's sake, say 40,000 products, right? Mm-hmm. And I quoted them at like $20,000 because it would just be WooCommerce. We're like sourcing the product somewhere else. And he's like, wow, that's really expensive. And I was like, that is 50 cents a product.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
So it's just really interesting, because I think that people kind of understand like how expensive it takes to build a building, right? Because they can see it get built. Right. But with a website, it's like this guy goes into his magic box and sets up a website and it's done.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. Well, we're coming up on time. I'm really enjoying this conversation. What are your plans for the future of dropshiplifestyle.com? Or maybe if you want to wax poetic a little bit, what do you think the future of dropshipping is?
Yeah, that's one thing that, oh man. So the future for dropship lifestyle, like what's cool about it is, again, it's been around for 5 years.
Mhm.
And the reason it's still around and the reason I still do so much for it, like I'm doing a coaching call today for it at like 2 p.m. But it's because like things always do change. So it's enjoyable for me because I do love the business side of it, like both on the info business, which would be dropship lifestyle, and on the physical product business. Like it's fun for me. So the future is just seeing where things go, seeing what works for us, and then sharing it once I can kind of confirm some data with our other businesses. So it'll keep evolving as the e-commerce side evolves. The future of dropshipping, I think, is more about the future of e-commerce than just dropshipping. Because again, dropshipping is like, it's one method of order fulfillment. And I don't think that, even if I don't see any like big difference there between e-commerce as a whole. But what I think and I hope doesn't happen, because we'll see what the government does, like if they have to break up Amazon or not. Because right now, the type of stuff we sell, knock on wood, but it hasn't been an issue with Amazon, with Prime, because we don't sell Prime products, basically. Like
Right.
if you want to sell, inexpensive stuff and have your own brand, that's a great place to have your stuff too. Our stuff would never happen. So in the future, though, if it does, and there becomes a day that, you're moving into a new office and everything's going to be furnished from Amazon, you're going to place a 20K order on there, and so is everybody else, and they eat up the entire market. We'll see if they get broken up or not. That might be 5 years from now, that might be 10 years from now. It might never happen. But yeah, that's the type of thing that I think like would cause a big impact on sales. Same reason when Home Depot went everywhere, like smaller retailers went out of business. Not happening yet, but again, could be a negative future for it.
Yeah, wow, that's that's a really interesting take, right? Because we do see Amazon getting into there's Amazon the grocery service, right, where Pantry, I think it's called, where you can get groceries on Amazon, and if you live in the right place, you can get it in like the same day. I live near Philadelphia now, and I'm indignant when something takes more than 2 days to get to me, because I have same day shipping now. But that's a really good point. Like, and they have like Prime Wardrobe now, which is like the same sort of thing as like Stitch Fix. So they could conceively monopolize the e-commerce market.
They're trying to. I mean, that's their goal. Like,
right.
yeah.
Wow, that's so interesting. Well, you've given us a ton of great advice, so I do want to ask my favorite question though, which is, do you have any trade secrets for us?
Yeah. So it may maybe not be a secret based on kind of things we've been talking about, but one thing that made all the difference for me with growing our businesses was focusing on expensive products. It's one reason also, even with Dropship Lifestyle, it's why the course doesn't cost, $7, right? It's why we make premium products there. The stuff we sell online also, the products we dropship, the brands we sell for, it's more of a premium price point. It's more of, something that honestly is going to give our customer a better experience, but it's also going to allow us enough profit per sale to be able to pay for ads, to be able to have support people, to be able to actually invest time into growing these things. So, maybe it's a secret, maybe it's not, but I would say for anybody, whatever you're selling online, try to sell something. For us, our minimum is like $200 that we look for, ideally closer to 1,000 or more. And since we made that shift, it's made a massive difference in how we can spend and how we can grow.
Man, that's really great advice. Because I mean, like you just said, if you're going to be selling smaller stuff, then maybe sell it through Amazon, right? People will likely buy it from Amazon anyway, because their shipping overhead is a lot lower than what your shipping overhead would be. So that is great advice, and that's not just great advice for people who drop ship either. I mean, if you're selling digital products, right? For a long time I underpriced my courses. So I had to like really grind out each sale, and it wasn't worth it for me. I'm raising the price of my courses, which allows me to spend more time creating good content. It also communicates the value of those courses to the buyer, right? That's another really important thing. If you're selling like a chair for like $20 or something like that, that's probably a cheaply made chair. But if you're selling it for $1,000, people are like, I know I'm getting a good quality chair. I can't sit in it yet. Right.
Yeah. And it brings in the legitimate buyers. Like for Dropship Lifestyle, if I said, I'm going to teach you how I've been doing this stuff for the past decade and how I've built multiple 8-figure stores and how I spend $1 million on ads a year and it's $5.99. People are going to be like, okay, this is a scam, right? But like instead, or people are going to buy it thinking they're going to get rich overnight. Instead, the people that invest in our program, at least, 99% of them, they're serious and they're actually trying to build something. Then that allows me to put, like you said, more time into the content. It allows me to do things like I do a monthly call with everybody, but like a monthly webinar, just like Q&A type thing. And if I sold something that was cheap, you wouldn't be able to do that. So I think everybody, go premium and give people what they actually want, which is results in, more. They want more from you. So give it to them.
Yeah, that's great. And I will, before I ask you where people can find you, there is one more anecdote I want to share with somebody who's in my mastermind group. She was selling a very cheap or free membership, and they expected so much from her because of where they were in their career, right? They weren't ready to spend $2,000 or $5,000 on the proper learning material, but they still spent money and viewed it as, I need to get everything I can, and it just wasn't viable for her. So I think that's a really good point about bringing in the legitimate buyers. Cool. So Anton, thanks so much for your time. Where can people find you?
Yeah, the best spot would just be dropshiplifestyle.com. Everything is linked up off there. So all the social pages, you want to contact me, we have the contact on there. But that's where we got all our links.
Awesome. And I will include that and everything we talked about in today's episode, which is a lot. It's going to be lengthy show notes. So be sure to head over to howibuilt.it for those. Anton, thanks so much again for your time. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks so much to Anton for joining us today. I really liked his thoughts about kind of expanding his ability to sell, how he built his website, which is WordPress and a lot of stuff I use, which I think is really cool. And then his future predictions, I guess, for dropshipping, especially that of Amazon and how that's kind of the elephant in the room and how that's going to affect the future of dropshipping. So he offers a lot of really great advice, and I'm very appreciative for that. I'm also appreciative of our sponsors, Plesk, Pantheon, and MailPoet. Be sure to check them out. For all of the show notes, you can head over to howibuilt.it/107. My question of the week for you is, have you been thinking about dropshipping, or is this the first time you've ever heard of it? Let me know your thoughts at joe@howibuilt.it or on Twitter @jcasabona. If you liked this episode, be sure to give us a rating and a review over on Apple Podcast. It really helps people discover the show. And until next time, get out there and build something.